FM Sunrise.
Sunrise on 3FM, the best in the morning.
You be sitting there telling me where the survivors like Daniel.
But it's a new year, and Bill's Microcredit is here to support your dreams. If you're not making it at work, you're working at all, but want to start a business, there's a great opportunity for you. Don't let money stop you. With just your Ghana card, you can get a loan to turn your ideas into reality. Already running a business, need more capital.
Some people
If you're a salaried worker looking for extra funds, Bills offers you fast and easy loans with no collateral, no deposits, and no Susu savings required. Wherever you are, whatever you need, Bills makes it happen. All you need to do is to pick up your phone and call Bill's Microcredit today, 059-692-0833. That's 059-692-0833. 059-692-0833 or 0302-220-0390. That's 030-220-0390. 030-220-0390 and get started. Terms and conditions apply. So whether you want to start a business, whether you're already in business, or you're a salaried worker, Bill's Microcredit got you covered. You need more capital, you need money to start your business, don't let money stop you. You got a Ghana card, that's all you need really. 059-692-0833. 059-692-0833. 0302-22 0302-20-0390. That's 0302-20-0390. Get started.
where the survivors. Yeah,
3FM Sunrise.
I tell you what, some people.
We've got two guests in studio. We'll get to talk to them, and then we will connect on the phone line with a medical doctor as well.
Some people got
Our very own Armstrong Gold, who's a MG disaster reporter. Nana Akusia Puma Inshira is the Diana Ntuntum and Kobia Hema of Doma Hinkro. She's also a caterer.
survivors.
And Kasim Suraj is a June 3 disaster victim.
Out of the lion,
Joining us in studio.
survivors. So
We'll be joined later by Alex Mensah, who's also a victim. Dr. Joseph Owusu Safo, who's a senior lecturer and clinical psychologist at the University of Cape Coast. 10 years on, we're remembering, reflecting, and reforming. We remember, we reflect, but do we reform? That's why we're introducing the reformation into the conversation. And now, Kwaso,
Pacho me that's
Pacho, what to say?
Pacho radiadum and I'm pai bome ho ye.
Great. Suraj, Assalam.
Alaikum salam.
It's been a while.
Alhamdulillah.
I see you keep your day. Osheopa. Nice one. And then June 3, 10 years ago, and then okay.
And that 10 years. Then me can say me free me year ni me ba. I was second. Na sada na as atimuda. Na sata me be seen
Sunrise
there.
on 3FM,
Na
the
manyano
best in the morning.
and bedroom there. Ajinjin kwa edusi ndwa na jose mi susa madichi. Me kai me yiri na menini e wari ya eti boom na yekope yekope de bedina yebefia na wako shirinin kwa na ya pa na mi ankasa na maka mi we wiase so I did them
about the saying now what on then
pacho mi driver ni
we are driving
auto driver
okay
ma pon kwa kofi mi reton auto adi o second ndi nso eto ana mi se on point on by the mama ko fan bra
okay
na ko fan kwa ba and so me mane felicitation atopu for mi wuro ma na ka sin toto so ya si nso akodize mti omutumi tombio onya wuro ma ontumi piebie ndi yakura yasika mu se ye be jaka no na akọ prekopa na ese jawo ena jabe tom tiso enanu ma hu shubio ena ma be 87
Sunrise on 3 FM.
But okay.
Best in the morning.
At that time Jano Ebane saying uye
ejana kasa me hu ejano me yiri na chem se mi hwe esro se ejao before better me na ejana tomtiso me hu hwe bi apart for san me hu de esi on me hu hwe
until 50 Saturday we who yeru bi mo hu ba ni bi
ma hu bible ma hu me hu ni yiri bi
time I bet in the normal call
omko tama me da admission intention care unit 37 Sata mitimi kasa mi hushi ti say 1 month na 2 month ansa na mitimi bi man e bisa say mi yere ni mba won ana so omo rich hospital nti omo to mo a bi hu ntimi dawo madawo 1 year e be discharge mi na psychologist for be bo mama ni say mi yere ni mba na my free na nyezi
I can imagine. This is your wedding.
Minya shi.
Unye juma bia.
Minya juma bia, but me driver ni. Minya ka mechi. Ba situation we one of them ka. Obia ko ni kense me pejuma. O show o appearance a. Obaka se kan ni. Sa. Ndi midasuko 37 review ani nya skasem anka minyaka mi eyedma menyiska ada tondo aye review ni
Sunrise on 3
They
FM.
told there be a review no in the bia na oko
ni kwani a month it be 2 months a month it be 2 months ni nya skasem it be atambe so ska ni wanti menko e wa minyaka krana mako
see Nana
Mira,
asem ni new also e na okay nana
pacho wada Roma, me de man hihye bi.
okay
Na me nka ho. Na mo me de eye emwa na nya me ka makoma 2017.
right
Me wa manone wa Italy. Me ba down na me be boabo mo nyina no. Ese kakra me so metumi no. Me ye
Sunrise
Eddie
on 3
Amawo.
FM.
Tifiti 2017 na makra omo kakra sa besisa bre.
and then the can wakoma say be yes ade uti wa brochire papa bi onya obi bi edi
So
ohuto
say adwuma we e your friend. Say em fan free so ma unto menye. Sabe ye wo esikafo bebre nimdifo asofo e wo krowe mo. Nanso obia antwe amben wo mo. Ti me hu ne say e frɛ na Awurade frɛ me sɛ me mɛboa wo mo kitwa na me wo no me ne omo mɛkyem kakra nti e frɛ adwuma because adding challenges bebree nso wo sɛ kasim 2017 no
On 3 FM.
Awurade amfa me anepie omo so anka kasim sɛ saa be on tiase san sɛ me ba mu na me be hu no no na 1 year ne ti no yen dresse da ono ana etoto paye na ya banagi tire ni nyina to de to odwe hu no de to paye na gum ti ma tire ne proi Itino Satam no my any surgery 18 times.
The best in the morning.
Tinatri na pro na a sonny guno. Or te ha won't maintain and chain. And so, and I may a home of bro, any don't. Me chimben. And my me call 37 military hospital. Echo pa and paying for chow. Eka senka omo nhwehwe nipa na mabo omo nyina no no nipa be 80 nko omo hwe omo nyina pomode mame muka se omo doso ti me hwem nia obre no me fa na
priority cases
ti medical simum ene koye because ono na na asam eye mo bopa ti me de ne koye nyame adu omo gine tun estati se omo address chronic akra see every 3 days we are no free kaswa ebe say court 37 and no easy there be I say lolly fair
right
with the man ti kakra na 37 gene to mo say on be san try biem surgery ni biem ti satam no na ma be 2 years anante wo mo ho saa kwani abasa ti sika na ye dan makra e bi nka ho ti ebesa me nkrata asam so samankwa e be je free me sam ti na se mi ja ho mo ho ti me de kasim aka 3 days am ma free ano and am de kasim e koma doctors no 37 na me ka chro mo se me kwaba ti me koye no nra obe to wo ho e be tra ni nyina kakra na me sende brain ti nyame ado Dr. Safo nyame hira no baby obia ene 37 ministry hospital paying ni nyina o madaroma na ne 10 years abeto kasim omo ye ni surgery kama omo wie ye nso no na meka no na nke 400,000 but ya papa despite say ye wantanase o sorry to America bitua aka no e de ma no ti nyame hira papa kwa me despite doctor na nyame hira ye papa kana Japan nyame hira mpanyimfo a omo e kai wo mma no boa wo mo na mom adesre de ba akopɛ ye papa president John Dran mama ne penso and a KCC ye
that's right 2015
na unfortunate to him no went to me and some metna konwane so ni nyina eye ni nyame be ye bia ye o hihye bo bebre se obe otwa fan dia ma victims no afi we bank this ka bi baye o de be ma o ni nyina no be sinne no ye hu ye ntie ye na banfoforo e baye omo so baye no sabi empatasika bia enfiri obia ho compensation sika abanfoforo na wotwa mu no e de baye beni president sika $200,000 obe donate ma victims no eno na mete ho asama me sorry wo ho na omo so anje achinye omo ka no kre wo e ma yete committee ma omo chesika no e ma wo mo eno no nye empatasika sebe Ghana aban e de apata na de hye no eno ye obi sika wa be donate e de ama wo mo e na ode be fa aban ne so enti se wo mo de sika no mo a eno nya patasika
right
enti ma de sre de ne say ye president ye papa John Dran mama Erade aboa na ya bompa ya ma wasan ya bai e ya de sre me sre no de onyankopon din onyame a wasan akukuru no abetena akonwa ne so edin sre ne se bo sha wo share na de hye no eye omompata sika no onye ho adwuma mayen ontwa na ni mehwe wo sanse omasamo emobopa ebi sabe afani tirim ebi fitamale takrade kumasi echiri ena me frɛ wo mo bo mo ano nanka obi anfi wo mo biem o mo free hospital no obi anfi wo mo biem enti me bae na me bebo mo na nsan na Ghana eti se victims no o mo da so tia so o mo da so ho sabi o mo free mo de erade for mo currency o mo awofo no o madofo chichiro o mo re na mo amakai papa se me ma wo hwe kasim tia
Suraj de if he hire ne dia o Suraj de if he hire ne dia
o se ni aye ahoden wo hia o de be ye adwuma sebi na mo misra ye papa say anka ombie bibi to say vocational school ye nwene kente otefa akon obetimi aye ye pamade otefa akon obetimi aye anase bibi a otefa akon a obetimi aye onka say da bi obesresre ye mo patasika ni wi a empa adwuma bi emma wo
sanu adwuma bi a
yes
stress papa bi a
she because we ni tini ne honam okotena stie anim a obi amefro ne ka no so ahu nti adwuma a obetimi aye na ono so tabia no ai artist wanya ahode wanya okeka no ho ense obetena fa kwensa obeye mrekra ntem
very, very good appeal. Suraj, then if you and you for the last 10 years, and you know, I remember say 2015 is here I'm TV Africa.
Okay.
And I was at TV Africa at the time. Yeah, we had just closed from the Rundown show, going to Circle to find food to eat. So we saw the disaster in part. You know, I returned the next day to work. You know, taking my bath, just changing my top. So I have a full documentary on this Filth, Flood and Fires on YouTube. Yeah, and I was there. I saw it myself. I experienced it at first, and since then, you know, the next year I came to TV3. I was the latter that part, and then we formed the 3 Foundation. And then the 3 Foundation also did what we can. So every year, Suraj did.
Yeah, what kind of
I feel every year. Kobiche has also joined us in studio. We'll get to have a word with him in the back. Good morning. It's saying Bibi Aboko. Nice. Now, Sami, 10 years ago, Solomon, you use mic no mami. 10 years ago, I didn't know Kai.
10 years ago, I didn't say. Papa na catcher so yimi free ejamu e was seko tabana na ejanu ni si oni betoye no be yimi free sana o catcher
Nancy amatise na o se o page jumaye and yes say brandie page juma bi ma akosi sen
wacho na me se page my ba o se me brana I'm share the MP for the Yamam.
One essay. Kobiche
and I can't
do any.
I want to do many.
I see. Okay. Has he taken you there or the walk?
Yes, I am from Coleman.
Okay, but or the Musa. Okay. Now, first, not then away. Then an hour or second.
First, I want to make Papa tea.
Okay.
Oni me mami tea. So time na owo me na me so kitikiti. So pie eja me say okoto ade ba oba ye ni eja no so atofie ni. Kenyo no kra ka mewu ba me papa na etimase bi free eja no.
Jo papa ti ase.
Mi papa go ti ase.
Ono so ja no hihye no.
Ni san ina ro.
Sanda na ade ni sie no na wo se wo chede nyie na wo fie na wo kwa na wo fie
na me mami ba me mada ba me mami so ne wo so what say jana ba na me mami so ono anti me yeshi ono kra jana kra fa no
I see nti etwa school so nti want me akọ school di bi
school dem anti man ko
I didn't hear.
Me go school nkwala no amusiro. Nkwala nkiti. Tina mama ntima go school.
See, nti se juma be na wo pe aye.
Se juma pese.
Na hima se empe nsanu juma bi mamo se be amotifa kokra betimi aye. Juma be na wo pe aye.
Juma na pese me yan se me pese me timisha the way I two ties.
Okay.
And the way I slamming doors.
Right.
Yeah.
And no pese oye.
Yeah.
I see. Okay, so essentially Solomon and Suraj and Nanahima, they have one appeal. The overarching appeal is that they are looking for Nanahima, sorry, the overarching appeal is that they're looking for some form of employment for these individuals who were affected 10 years ago by the filth flood and a fire disaster, so they can also fend for themselves and not become a butt of jokes and also be begging for alms every now and then. They want a situation where their well-being and health and social protection will also become paramount and be pushed to the front burner. Nana Ima, for example, recounts how she was out there in Amsterdam. She was okay. She was living her life until she saw the predicament of these individuals who, through no fault of theirs, fell into this situation. She came down, brought some money, galvanized some support, and rallied some people together. She went to 37 Military Hospital, asked that the victims be treated. The doctors, they advised that, well, they should look at the numbers quite huge and it will be cost intensive. So she should look through and find priority cases. And Suraj was one of the cases that she found, because at the time she met Suraj, for more than a year, he hadn't been to see the doctors and his head was rotten. And the water was dripping off, and you couldn't sit next to Salim, which was also becoming very problematic. So she went to the doctors. They brought Salim there, found some money, and then they started treating Salim. They had surgeries, about 18 times and more surgeries. Now it looks quite better than the first time I met Salim. She wants to give credit to Dr. Kwame Despite Kennedy, Japan, and all those others who, through their munificence and they became benefactors to these people. She's bemoaned the situation that the last time she heard of some help for the victims was some $200,000 that was sent, $200,000 that was sent through from a foreign country into this country for them. She's reiterated the point that this disaster happened in 2015 at the time when John Dramani Mahama was president. He had plans, according to her, for the victims, but he couldn't stay on. He had to move away from power because the people of Ghana decided that, well, he had to leave so somebody else comes through. For 8 years, nothing significant was done for them. So she believes that President Mahama needs to reactivate those plans that he had in the past in 2015 for them, particularly if you could find them some loom to be able to weave kente, for example, soap making, bead making, all those, works and that do not require too much energy and, a strain and stress. It will do a lot of good. For example, Solomon says he wants to learn how to lay tiles and fabricate sliding doors and windows, etc. So they clearly have a plan. Let's go back to 2015. John Dramani Mahama, president at the time, what did he say? Listen.
Those who will wish to apportion blame, and quite truthfully, there's plenty of blame to go around. But when we list one by one the various mistakes and failings that contributed to this catastrophe, I hope it is not for the purpose of pointing fingers, but rather of making certain that something of this nature never again happens to our dear country.
The best in the morning is on 92.7 Sunrise on 3FM. Sunrise on 3FM. on 3FM. The best in the morning is on 92.7 Sunrise on 3FM.
17 minutes after 9 on 3FM 92.7. I still got my guests in here, Nana Ima, Salim and Solo. Kasim, sorry. Let me come to you again. Na mimbisa se Nana Ima kasa. Ni Nana Ima kan no ofwaso se sa kente ne soap making ne beat making. Ofwaso unya bi obeye.
Pacha mfaso pa minya bi ambe.
Because na sembu oku
mpachane.
I'm just had discussions.
Okay.
Say be as no be ton carpet, but say in the situation they want to me ton carpet because me kai woolen carpet ne circle in him na very busy business area. Mo yes meetings ne be say science
pacho. Ya meeting pa. Ba no mona yetu. Ya nya boafo nti ama okakra na enkosi enkusaga antina ama Nana Ima say yemfa ya sempam betu menim na no boa metu maide
na ya mo ye meeting MP MCE assemblyman omo de omo hwem
mpacho MC ni assemblyman MC ni da Amy director no omo fa nya hwekura
kasa yi
no serious Nana Ima na tiati ndra yakohon FT as I can say 1 week and 2 weeks. It is almost almost another on by a few.
Uko AMA.
Bacho and collective.
And then last day I call last week near Mr. Monday, Mr. Monday saying Tuesday 10 years. You be a more my and no money.
Right.
Or be a crunch when him. Way by possible may buy me PA me meeting. Way by Mr. last day a coy. Nyomo catcher and say TNT Cromunya be maomo. Omo be French chicha womunya TNT maomo. Nam sene aduane ne nsuo kakra omo so omo ni bibia omo de be maomo. Nam say what? Enra mi sui. Mi sui. Me ba Ghana 6 months mu na me we. Enti samunya bibia amfa moade a omo say ade omo benya ye tent ne enkonwa.
Amo de be dey.
Omo be say wa betena say abekasa keke. Inti yensuso lawyer bi ada Roma frey say yen kan akoma to ye sa tentene konwa no waye ne ready drink your ombe no waye ne ready nti anadwo na odi kogu ho nti anadwo na no mo start say ho ti mini time omo no omo de no be kode mini ye be ba ya na to me frey and say omo aba ho it's okay.
What's your call assembly hall?
Yes.
When tabo mom.
Yes.
We see bibia or mom one or more from mom.
Almost so many show more day my yen. Nam sina sika omo fresh di tamaleni kumase almost TNT omunya bi my yen. Timini so mo adwena sesan na dia pacho mint mentre. Omo decide di ya so many years.
Hey.
Yes.
Azama okay. Is serious o.
Me bom paye e de ma obi biara odi sa dwumade no mu akotene se Erade hu no mobo non fa mobrofo bi dadwen ento no so san se we ase Bible say ni hu mobrofo mobo no de fem Erade ti se wo hu no bi mobo oba bi odi hye bi wo faase bi bisusu se nkampanyfo no sanka omo ba ne kasima na omo ba ne sola anka omo da anka omo nna nanso anka wo dan nti se kwan no etene pa ekwan no mo tre.
Well, so the understanding I get is that they've been trying to engage the local assembly, that's Kokma, which used to be under the AMA as a sub-metro at the time when this disaster struck. So at the time it would have been AMA and Mayor Oko van der Poy. Subsequently, Kokma was created out of the AMA, Ladma, Lekma, all those, smaller assemblies, if you will. And they've been trying to engage the assembly over the last 2 weeks, towards this day. The assembly has not given them any favorable response. In fact, as of yesterday when they went, the assembly only suggested that they can provide chairs and canopies to aid today's event. But they also say that, well, they've got somebody who has come in as a benefactor, who's provided those chairs and canopies and drinks and refreshment. As a private legal practitioner who's provided those things. So a prayer is that those at the assembly who have been clothed with the responsibility and duty to come to their aid in such times of despair will be touched and with the thoughts of somebody who has also fallen into some situation of a nature, so that their hearts could be softened. Because I find it quite befuddling that they walk up to the assembly, and again I ask the social protection standpoint, did we learn anything at all? Quite sad. Solo? Inti sese, you know, ejumani nyambai. But you see, ene ejumana babe to me. We are ready. Sese udahi. Abonti whatever.
Maybe I made it to be a timida. Because me knew be our crowd.
Kasayo, was it then?
They say, maybe I made it to be a timida. This time, maybe need be other.
Uda Bonting?
Yes.
That's it, you from a barrel.
Oh. Baby, I'm a crocodile, me, baby, that.
Baby, to say him for Oda.
Say, Bishop, I know this time, me Kodro Bishop, I know, and Amada. Say, I bought 5, 6, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry, 19. I just asked, and I'm sorry, Bishop. So I'm here.
Oh, 19, then. I did to say, and now I did. Oh, okay. What's stress?
Yeah, this time I'm a Bishop.
Papa.
Yes, ma'am.
Pacho. Enti ye kure. Sika ni mwana.
Oh, sika wo. Ya pese ye nyasika, be nyasika.
Enti empanyfo ntumi entena ase. Anka amonane amewa asebe. Anka aban no. ABC estate bi e de wo mudin atoso. Say be a victims estates.
It's a shelter be cry.
Yeah. Na wape adwuma amomwa ye eno achi no ye twasika kase de mawa wapra no e de patawo sa sika na achi no ye sama pension every month ye ma waduane di ye treat you good ye ma won feel say wadi demunti onka nipa ho na mom omoma wo hu say onso oka ho woda so ye nipa but ye kray I say,
social protection, you're weak. Solo says, look, he doesn't have a place to. He doesn't have a place to sleep, so he roams around. When night falls, he finds a place that he thinks is conducive. Could be the frontage of somebody's shop, or some corner or alley under some bridge, and he just lays his head and sleeps. Around 5 a.m., 6 a.m., he gets up and then he hits the road again. What does he do? Well, he's begging on the streets just to survive, to make ends meet. And Nahima says, look, in advanced countries where she lives, for example, a whole shelter or some estates would have been constructed by this time 10 years on, with their names on it as victims of the Circle disaster or whichever way you want to call it. And then they will be provided accommodation and some employment and then some benefits as well that would come to them. So she's asking, are we so broke as a country that we cannot tick these boxes? Or is it just that we do not want to do it? She's asking that question. Let me connect with Dr. Jacob Owusu-Safo, the senior lecturer and clinical psychologist at the University of Cape Coast. Doc, good morning. Thank you for your time.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me, Johnny, and a big good morning to all our listeners, and I salute all our survivors also.
10 years on, Doc, do you get a sense that as a country we have been able to psych up the minds of the victims so that they don't feel that the society has abandoned them? 10 years on.
10 years ago today, I believe our country experienced one of the most painful days in modern history. I mean, with the combination of floods and deadly explosion, any of us can understand that this is not an experience that is just to be kept as a memory. For me, as a psychologist, I often say that, when it comes to trauma doesn't scream. Sometimes, you see, we experience trauma through whispers, and trauma whispers through sleepless nights, panics, when the sky darkens, and it can even lead to quiet withdrawal of some who can just make sense of what happened.
Right.
And one difficulty for most survivors is that they carry what we call invisible wounds. And from what our brothers and Anaima is sharing, you can understand that these invisible wounds, they reflect as post-traumatic stress, survivor guilt, anxiety, sleeplessness, what we call insomnia, depression and anxiety. And for those who have survived it, the biggest challenge is that rain no longer feels like a blessing.
That's right.
Just a single shower makes them feel a trigger for warning. And this is where we as a country, we have come. And I must say that, there have been some efforts, especially when it comes to mental health. But is it enough? And one important thing that I would say is that for us as a country, aside disasters like this, we see more of psychological or psychosocial interventions as something that we just have to just bring together, support at one time, and that is the end. We don't usually put measures ahead of time. And it will surprise you that we are quick to handle sometimes the physical needs in terms of trauma and disaster before we think about the mental health. And even if the mental health or the psychosocial interventions are provided, they just come in for a period, just a brief period, and we just forget that the effect or its impact lingers on for a very long time. So for me, to be honest, we need structured psychosocial support after this, which for me I feel is very limited, because if we ask ourselves after this disaster, we saw that there were some psychologists and mental health workers who came on board to help. But is it something that is structured? Is it something that is systemic? Is it something that we know that these individuals who were victims could receive this support for a very long time? Do we have a helpline for them?
Right.
There are a lot of things that are missing in their line.
Right.
And this is something that we need to pick up as a nation, because you see, when it comes to psychological trauma, unlike physical trauma that can be healed, the scars of psychological trauma sometimes lives underneath wounds that are not healed forever.
I see.
And healing must be built into our disaster response, not added as an afterthought. And for me, that is where policymakers, stakeholders, government have to come in and have a thought about. Because as we speak, disasters are going on. There are accidents, there are various challenges that we are experiencing as a country. And the question is, how do we treat mental health in this?
That's a solid question to ask, Doc. I'll let you hold on and go to Reverend Daniel Osei, the immediate past NADMO Director, Clottey Korle Municipal Assembly. Doc, thank you. Reverend, thank you very much for your time. Good morning.
Good morning. You.
We are in the 10th year since this disaster of filth, flood, and fire happened at the Kwame Nkrumah Circle. You were immediate past NADMO Director for the Municipal Assembly. Are you able to
Yeah.
confirm if the assembly indeed gave some compensation to the victims of this unfortunate situation?
The assembly.
Right, yes.
Okay, so as far as I'm concerned, the assembly has not paid compensation in particular, except that which was paid to them at the NADMO headquarters. It started from the AMA and got completed at the NADMO headquarters. But that compensation, as it been brought to my attention, wasn't adequate per the expectation of the victim. So it was in this light that I think about a year or two ago we started some conversation with the victims, because every year the victims come to the assembly and we need to organize a commemoration of the incident for them. And at the end of the commemoration,
Go ahead, please.
There are complaints here and there. So we started some conversation with them, and the conversation was aiming at one, instituting something like a living organization or association for them, and also using it to create something like disaster victim fund for them, and also trying to source for
I see. Reverend, it does look like these are dreams and plans that you had, but which was not implemented. I quickly want clarity. Sorry, I quickly want clarity. The compensation that you say came from the NADMO National Office, is it the same $200,000 that the Beninois president brought to support the victims of the disaster? Is that it?
Yes. That's what I'm aware of.
So, as a country, we did not vote resources or funds to say these are tax-paying individuals, these are citizens of our country, our very own blood, kith and kin, and we did not support them. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so that is what necessitated the conversation around trying to institute something like a disaster victim support fund or maintenance fund at our district level. So there was conversation with the administrative executive, with them, bought into the idea. We needed to continue to have conversation with them because they have put themselves together as an association. And if we want to initiate anything like that, you cannot take them out. We need to have conversation with them at several levels. And also they have a lawyer. So myself demanded to have a meeting with them and the lawyer. I tried a couple of times. It wasn't successful because I needed to have conversation with them and the lawyer. Then I will report to the ministerial chief executive and the coordinating director. Then from there, they will call for a meeting between ourselves and the victims and the assembly as a whole. Then we'll take it from there. But it didn't happen. But we wrote letters to also NS chemists and some pharmaceutical industries to help us with some medication and also try help us with resource persons that can offer psychosocial support for them. And because the conversation with them and the lawyer didn't succeed, it couldn't continue. And we are here. I think last year I was in the studio with them, and you asked questions about these things, and we told you that these were the things that had been initiated. And
let me ask you a simple and final question. These victims are going through trauma right now. We have a psychologist on the other line who has just said that we have not done enough, or we may not have done enough. Before you left office as NADMO director for the Municipal Assembly.
About a month or two ago.
Right. Do you know if a comprehensive plan was put in place to ensure that this never happens again?
Well, in terms of comprehensive plan, what we may call disaster contingency plan. Yes, of course, we have, and the central government also has a plan in place covering the flood-prone areas within the Greater Accra, that's the Gamma area. So what we have at the district level and the central government level is synchronized and is being worked on. So one of the key things being done is this Garrett project that is underway. So once that is complete, it's going to address the flood situations within our enclave and other disaster-prone districts within the Odo Basin line.
Okay.
Stemming from, yes?
Right. Reverend Daniel Osei, thank you very much indeed for your time. Is the immediate past NADMO director for the Korle Klottey Municipal Assembly. O'Day. Okay, right. Thank you very much, Daniel O'Day. We're grateful that you could join us, Reverend. Thank you so much. Doc, I come back to you for your closing thoughts. So you heard, I mean, it doesn't look like we have a comprehensive plan really in place. This touch and go, no proper compensation for the victims from the side of government. We had to wait for a visitor to bring us money for us to share. The victims are telling me that at some point about 4 years ago, they got 30 Ghana cedis each as compensation. In wrapping up, what should we be doing? Which boxes should we be ticking so that we don't find ourselves in such an embarrassing and harrowing situation as we have now?
Thank you very much, Johnny. The discussion is a sad one, and it calls for a lot of reflection, reformation, and the remembrance part is also very important. And I think your speech sounds very good. For me, one of the things I've always been pushing is the disaster readiness in terms of us as a nation, our disaster readiness, which would include some psychosocial aspects well knitted within. And one of the questions I wanted, probably I would be happy, maybe someday you could ask our NADMO officials that do they have a well-knitted psychosocial wing in their outfit? I'm really interested in that answer. And another thing is that, you see, our survivors need accessible psychosocial trauma care. And, you know, when we talk about access, it's not just about pitching a clinic nearby. No, it's not. Sometimes even the additional support in terms of having a place to sleep, having that occupational integration after losing one's job. You see, these are very important discussions we need to have as a nation. And then another thing is, national emotional literacy at our community levels, in schools, at workplaces. We should understand that trauma can happen to anyone, and once they do, these are the ways in which we can support ourselves as communities, as individuals, as nations.
I hear you.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Jacob, thank you very much indeed for your time. We're grateful that you could join us. We're wrapping up the conversation because Nana Hema, Solo, and Kasim have to go to the grounds now because there's some activity that's happening there. Solo,
yes.
You're wrapping up conversation. And then I'll also Ghana for Mampini Tio, say Minister Tio, and then I'll also catch on.
I'm on page, I'm a tenor for a name jazz but I sound for almost maybe Mukram Bang. Straight Panachon page, man. They said to me,
Thank you. Solo wants a job. He wants for jobs to be provided so that his likes and he himself will stop begging on the streets, because people get scared when they see him because of the way the fire has disfigured him, and he wants to be at one place to work to earn. Kasim, into way.
Mpacho midasi ne akonya na wa man. Mpacho Madis ready. Say Omampini obeti na obehu ya mobo no sabe boy fan na okase obetwa man mpacho ye pese on sambra bi no be hwena on twa fan man na yenso bit man yeska na etima ada ye juma on ko she obi asina ebia the program bebro na edman so na obetima abia man na ebe yenso fine,
right?
Ndi anka yebeda na sipa ndi yesren pa se ombe boy,
okay,
na fan na also obetwa man ndi obetwa pan man,
right?
Adisren na yesren.
So he is begging the president, or appealing to the president, to institute the fund that he promised, the fund that will aid them and to make their lives more comfortable. That's one. And number two, he also wants jobs for himself and then for people who are equally affected like himself. Nanaima, you have the closing thoughts.
Yo, that's Mira, president, and papa, near Miss Renan say, Bosha or Shena this year, or Manim Rem. Na ye nyina empire bo na Awurade asan de naba tie ne dan so ye rehye ne mu ye sre nyame ma no se oma ne nyenche ne apomoden na oma Ghana ade hia omo ho aka dwam enye sabe me nko amema no kwa victims be brave wo ho onka omo nyina boa no omo baby papa ntsana na fe ompe dwuma ema wo monye na sika kakra omo de be ma omo a omo so de beto omo echi se de be ya bibi hia omo a omo be kwa akofa ma de sredi ni yeda na se yenim se obeye sanse ono de oka oyo nti yeda na se yeda obi bia nso a asem isi ye obo a victims no me ma ne se me nda obi a ase emfa ma obi a so we kapre we sampoa we taku e de boa victims ya onyankopon onhyirawo na onto nkwanere na mom ebi mra bien sanse omoda so hia momwa mira me da 3 FM asi bebre minim se afi bia moye na mo be koswaye na me hyira mo pa.
Amen. So Nana Hima is thankful to all those who have come to the help of the victims, and she prays that some more will come, because Oliver Twist wants some more. It's not ended. It's an ongoing process. So while she thanks you, she's also soliciting for some more support for the victims. But ultimately, she wants to remind the president of his pledge and promise to the victims, and for the president to keep his word of providing a fund and providing jobs and support for the victims. We're grateful that you could join us in studio. Nana Akusia Poma Inshira, Adriana Ntuntum, and Kobia Hema Doma Hinkro. He's also a caterer. Kasim Suraj is a June 3 victim, and Solomon, who joined us in studio as well, June 3 victim. Solomon was brought in studio by Kobi Che. Kobi Che is pushing the agenda. It says boys' lives also matter. Kobi Che, big up yourself, man.
Kobi Nyamishra.
Kobi, we have not heard from you. Let's hear a word from Kobi Che. Kobi, for all the work that you do. Nana Hima also Nyamishra. Kobi, for all the work that you do, God bless you.
Thank you.
Why
you,
are you interested in boys' lives matter?
Yes.
What is it about?
Yes. So over the period, I noticed that the focus has always been about the girl child education, girl child empowerment, and who are we training this girl child for? we are training them to meet the boys who are going to be men in future.
Right.
And so it was just through my campaign, I was just roaming in the capital city of Accra every day trying to speak to boys, young boys, and ask them why are they on the streets. And that was how come I chanced
on. You met him, okay.
I met this young boy who was on the streets. I asked his condition, and it was actually due to the fact that, you know, the June 10th disaster. And it was just, I was just sad. And the thing happened when he was around 6 or 7. And now he's a big boy now.
Right,
and
almost 20 years.
Exactly. You know, so I just posted, I did the whole documentary, posted it online, and I had people who came to say that they want to help. So from here, we are moving to see some authorities who have actually insisted to help the boy. And I think
I saw Erica J.
Yes,
and the NEIP, you know,
so
tweet
right from
you.
here, I am taking the boy to him.
Right.
And this is every country that does not think about the disability, children, the aged, the vulnerable don't have a future.
That's correct.
And I've seen how passionate you are, you know, and I want to make this last statement. I follow you a lot, and I want to say God bless you for what you are doing.
Bless you too, Kobe.
My question is that I have never heard it on the floor of Parliament that Ghanaian politicians and lawmakers are discussing the betterment of the Ghanaian children. If you have heard it, I stand to be corrected. It is always about, you know, I haven't heard on the floor of Parliament that they are discussing children. Like a tough conversation where we are looking at how we can empower Ghanaian children. A whole nation don't have a national playground.
That's correct.
We only have Fort Sunderland Park, which is also in a very bad state. The whole Ghana. I went to the state, and we have a national park for dogs.
Right.
And we don't have a whole country. We don't have a national playground for children. And so if you are building the good roads, you are building the healthcare, education, you are doing all this infrastructure, you are doing it for the next generation. Who are the next generation?
The children.
Because there are some infrastructure you are putting, it is the next generation will come and benefit. So if you're not having time to equip the children of Ghana, what is the end? I mean,
the end game.
The end game.
It's a very strong point you make there, and was it last week? Was it last week I was talking about the fact that in Ghana we identify the land, we build, we live in it before we start thinking of planning.
Exactly.
So you go to these new communities, there's no playground, there's no community hospital, there's nothing. You understand? And then we're just creating concrete jungles.
Yes.
Right? So we build the house like a box. It's all concreted tile.
That's all.
There's no greenery,
exactly.
Nothing. I mean, Koviche, thank you.
Thank you so much for the beautiful work you're doing.
Thank you very much indeed. And then Solo, thank you very much indeed.